Look, before we get into anything tonight, I want you to take a second and think about the biggest dream you ever had. Not the one you told people because it sounded safe. I'm talking about the one you kept to yourself because it scared you. The one that made your heart race. The one that felt too big to even say out loud. See, where I come from, big dreams ain't fantasy. They survival, they direction. They give you something to run toward when everybody else is running in circles. But here's the truth they don't tell you. Big dreams don't show up without big journeys. You don't get to skip the miles, skip the lessons, skip the nights you want to quit. You gotta walk through it, run through it, crawl through it if you have to. People love the vision but hate the process. Everybody want the mountaintop, nobody want the climb. But the climb is where you become the person who can hold the view. Let me break this down, because if you really got a big dream in your chest, you gotta understand the journey that comes with it. A big dream ain't built for the version of you that's standing here today, and that's exactly why most people tap out before they even get started. A dream that scares you, stretches you, feels too heavy to lift. That's the one meant for you, but not the you that exists right now. It's meant for the you that's on the other side of discomfort, on the other side of discipline, on the other side of all the growth you haven't met yet. You don't get a big dream without becoming a bigger person. You don't get elevation without evolving. Life gone, make sure of that. The universe don't hand you something you ain't built to carry. It puts you through the work so when the blessing arrives, you got the muscle to hold it. Look at any major story, any giant, any name you respect. Kobe didn't become Kobe because he wished for greatness. He became Kobe because he lived in the gym when the world slept. While people were partying, he was practicing. While people were doubting him, he was betting on himself. That Mamba mentality everybody quotes today, that was forged alone in silence behind doors nobody opened for him. Same thing with Elon. People see the rockets now, the billions now, the headlines now, but that journey didn't start at 30. It started when he was a kid in his room coding video games on a basic computer, learning, failing, tweaking, trying again. People clap for the success, but they ignore the seed. They ignore the seasons where nobody cared, nobody watched, nobody believed. That's where the bigger version of you gets built. And I'll tell you from my own experience, when I first started rapping, I wasn't the best in the room. I wasn't the loudest voice. I wasn't the one everybody pointed at and said, yeah, he next. But I had one thing, vision, and vision makes up for anything you don't have yet. I watched cats who were colder than me fall off because they wouldn't grow. I watched people with more connections than me lose momentum because they stayed the same me. I kept evolving. Every mixtape, every project, every song was a step forward. Even when I took losses, those losses were pushing me somewhere. Every time something didn't go as planned, it forced me to expand. I didn't know it then, but life was shaping me for rooms and responsibilities I couldn't handle at the start. That's how big dreams work. They require you to turn into someone with more capacity. They don't adjust to you, you adjust to them. And sometimes that growth hurts. Sometimes it feels like you breaking down when really you breaking open. But that's the part nobody wants to talk about. Everybody loves the glow up, but nobody loves the grind up. Nobody loves the late nights where you questioning everything. Nobody loves the sacrifices you gotta make. Nobody loves the times where progress feels invisible, but the pain feels loud. But what you gotta understand is that's the gym. That's the training. That's the spiritual weight room where you build the strength to hold what you prayed for. Think about it. Your body can't lift 400 pounds today unless you train for it. Same with your dreams. You can't hold $1 million vision with $100 mindset. You can't create impact if you're scared of discomfort. You can't lead others if you're still running from your own reflection. The journey makes you stronger, wiser, sharper. It develops the judgment, the patience, the intuition. It teaches you how to trust yourself, how to listen to your spirit, how to move with purpose. It forces you to outgrow insecurity, outgrow laziness, outgrow fear. Every level demands a new lesson, a new version. And honestly, the craziest part is how life sends you exactly what you need to evolve. You'll think you're being punished, but really you're being prepared. You'll think something is falling apart, but really it's falling in place. You'll think you're losing people, losing opportunities, losing momentum. But in reality, all that loss is clearing space so something bigger can fit. If life gave you the dream before it gave you the growth, you'd drop it. You wouldn't be ready. Your character wouldn't match your calling. That's why the journey matters more than the dream itself. The dream is the destination, but the journey is the classroom. And that's the part people underestimate. They want success on demand. They want shortcuts to greatness. They want the final chapter without reading the whole book. But the journey is the part you can't skip. That's where the discipline builds. That's where the mindset shifts. That's where the doubts fade. That's where the resilience grows. That's where you learn how to keep going when motivation disappears. 'Cause a big dream ain't fueled by hype. It's fueled by habits. Every step you take, every setback you push through, every lesson you learn, every sacrifice you make, it's all shaping you. You ain't just chasing a dream, you're becoming someone worthy of it. And once you understand that the struggle hits different, you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this building in me? You stop comparing your timeline. You stop seeking validation. You stop rushing the process because you realize the process is what's creating the power you're gonna need when you get where you're going. So when you feel stretched, good. When you feel uncomfortable, good. When you feel like you're evolving faster than your environment, good. That's how you know the dream is working on you. That's how you know you're becoming the version of you that can carry the vision. That's how you know you're leveling up even when nobody sees it. Because at the end of the day, big dreams don't require perfection. They require progression. They require you to keep showing up, keep growing, keep building, keep believing. Every day you do that, you're getting closer, not just to the dream, but to the higher version of you that dream was designed for. The journey will test everything about you. And what it goes after first, before your skills, before your talent, before your grind, is your faith. Because skill can get you started, but faith is what keeps you going when everything around you looks like it's falling apart. Faith is what whispers, keep moving, when life is yelling, give up. And anybody who's ever built something meaningful, anybody who's ever climbed out of a dark place, anybody who ever went from nobody believing in them to the whole world quoting them, they'll tell you the same thing: faith carried them further than talent ever could. See, most people think the journey is just about sharpening your craft. They think it's about working harder, learning more, perfecting your moves. But the real battle happens inside you. Life will throw you tests that don't care about your resume. It'll hit you with setbacks that make you question everything, your ability, your timing, your purpose, your plan. You'll have days where you ask, am I really built for this? And the wild part is that question is part of the process. It's not the universe trying to break you. It's the universe trying to confirm you. You're going to face moments where everything you counted on falls apart right when you need it the most. A door you prayed would open gets slammed in your face. Someone you trusted switches up without warning. An opportunity you thought was your big break disappears overnight, and you standing there wondering what went wrong. But nothing went wrong. You're just being tested. Every dream has a weight limit, and you gotta prove you can carry it. You gotta show you won't fold the second things get heavy. You gotta let life see that you're committed, not just excited. There's data on this, real numbers. That Netflix study showed that most entrepreneurs quit right before their breakthrough, not months before, not years before, right before. Why? Because the pressure spikes, the resistance peaks. Everything gets harder right before momentum hits. The storm gets loudest right before the sky clears. That means if it feels like life is throwing everything at you at once, if it feels like every move is harder than it should be, if it feels like you're fighting battles nobody even knows you're fighting, you might be closer than you think. You might be standing inches from the breakthrough that changes your whole life. But that's where the faith comes in. That's where you gotta dig deep and trust your spirit more than your circumstances. That's where your vision has to stay louder than the voices around you. Because the truth is, environments have a way of trying to dim your light. Doubters have a way of projecting their limits onto your future. Fear has a way of sounding loud when your confidence feels quiet. And if you don't guard your faith, the world will shake it loose. I lived through it myself. There were days when I had to move off nothing but belief. No blueprint, no handouts, no guarantees, just faith that my purpose wasn't lying to me. Faith that if I kept working, kept studying the game, kept making my next move my best move, something would shift. And it always did, but never before I was tested first. Sometimes the money was low. Sometimes the support was thin. Sometimes the setbacks were heavy enough to make a weaker man quit. But faith made those moments temporary. Faith made the struggle instructional instead of destructive. And faith ain't about pretending everything is perfect. Faith is about showing up even when everything is imperfect. It's about walking through the darkness even though you can't see the finish line. It's about trusting the process even when the process feels painful. It's about betting on yourself even when nobody else is betting with you. Faith is the fuel your spirit uses when your strength runs out, when your legs tired, when your heart heavy, When your mind says it's enough, faith is what pushes you that extra mile. You gotta understand your dream is bigger than what your eyes can see right now. You don't get the privilege of knowing exactly when it's gonna pop. You don't get the timeline. That's why the journey feels unpredictable. But unpredictability ain't punishment, it's protection. If you knew every hard moment ahead of time, you might run from it. If you knew how long it would take, you might rush it. If you knew who would switch up on you, you might avoid the very lessons that would prepare you for your destiny. Faith fills in the gaps. It gives you the strength to move forward even when you can't trace every step. It's the voice that says, just trust me, keep going. It's the reminder that storms don't last, but strong spirits do. When logic says stop, faith says one more day. When your vision looks blurry, faith says, it's still yours. When the world doubts you, faith says, prove them wrong. And when you doubt yourself, faith says, look how far you've already come. This journey ain't random. It's refining you. Every setback is sharpening your instincts. Every delay is building your patience. Every disappointment is teaching you discipline. Every closed door is redirecting you toward the right one. You don't grow faith by winning. You grow faith by surviving what was supposed to break you. And when you make it through those moments, when you push through the nights that drained you, when you keep going despite the silence, despite the struggle, despite the fear, that's when you become unstoppable. Because once your faith gets strong, the journey can't shake you. It can challenge you, stretch you, humble you, but it can't break you. And that's the whole point. Big dreams require big faith, and big faith gets built one test at a time. Big journeys require real strategy, and that's one of the biggest truths people overlook when they talk about success. Everybody loves the emotion of a dream, the excitement, the hype, the feeling of possibility. But emotion don't build empires. Emotion don't sustain momentum. Emotion don't turn potential into something people can see, touch, respect, or be inspired by. Strategy does. Structure does. That blueprint you build when nobody's watching. That's the difference between people who dream and people who deliver. You can't freestyle your way into $1 million vision. You can't improvise your way into purpose. At some point, you got to stop wishing and start planning. You got to stop imagining and start mapping. See, dreaming big is powerful. It lights the match. It wakes up your spirit. It gives you something to believe in when everything around you feels small. But dreaming is just the ignition. Achieving requires navigation. You need direction. You need clarity. You need steps that make sense, not just energy that feels good. Too many people try to jump from inspiration straight to success without understanding the bridge in the middle, the strategy that carries you through when motivation fades, when obstacles show up, when distractions pull at your focus, when time gets tight and life gets real. And I learned this firsthand. When Nipsey dropped The Marathon, the world saw the album, the message, the movement. But what they didn't see was the blueprint behind it. That wasn't some random project. He didn't just hit the studio and hope it went somewhere. He had a structure, a rollout, a long-term plan. Everything was intentional, how it was dropped, how it was priced, how it tied into the brand, how it became a narrative bigger than the music. That's why it lasted. That's why it stuck. That's why it turned from an album into a lifestyle. It wasn't just consistency, it was strategy. Even his ownership moves were planned. The stores, the investments, the partnerships, none of that was by accident. That was a man who understood something a lot of people still don't. You can have the most powerful vision in the world, but without a roadmap, you're just walking in circles with passion. The difference between the people who stay stuck and the people who break through is simple. One group is addicted to inspiration, the other is committed to execution. And execution requires clarity. It requires writing things down, breaking things down, understanding what matters now versus later. Harvard ran a study that proved it. People who write down their goals are 10 times more likely to achieve them than people who keep everything in their head. Why? Because the moment you write something down, it becomes real, it becomes measurable, it becomes something you can track and adjust, it becomes something you can't just talk about, you gotta move on it. You need a system, not a perfect system, not a fancy one, just a workable one, something that stops you from spinning in 20 directions at once, something that keeps you grounded when the world feels chaotic, something that keeps you locked in when distractions try to take you off your path. You need milestones. Break your big dream into small wins. Why? Because the mind needs progress to stay committed. If you set a huge goal with no steps in between, your brain will feel overwhelmed and quit halfway. But if you create checkpoints, small victories, you build momentum. And momentum is one of the most powerful forces on earth. Once you get moving, it becomes harder to stop. You need accountability. Somebody or something that checks you when you slack. That could be a mentor, a calendar, a deadline, a partner, a team. Even the most disciplined people need accountability. When you know someone or something is expecting results, your mindset shifts from "I'll get to it" to "I gotta get it done." You need data, not vibes, not guesses, not assumptions, real information. What's working, what's not, what needs to be adjusted, what needs to be cut. Winners don't just work hard. They evaluate, they study, they refine. Strategy ain't about being perfect. It's about making informed adjustments that keep you moving forward instead of sideways. And you need structure, a schedule, a routine, a rhythm. Structure protects your dream from the chaos of life. It creates space for growth. It ensures that even when you're tired or unmotivated or stressed, you still move. Because discipline don't care how you feel. It cares what you do. And listen, having strategy doesn't make the dream less magical. It makes it more possible. It takes the dream out of the clouds and puts it in your hands. It transforms something that feels huge and far away into something you can touch step by step by step. Magic without structure is just fantasy. But magic with structure, that's legacy, that's impact, that's something that lasts. Your dream is like a car, shiny, beautiful, full of potential. But potential don't move. It just sits there looking good. Strategy is the engine. It's what makes the car go. It's what gets you from where you are to where you want to be. You can polish the car all you want. You can brag about it. You can imagine how it'll feel to drive it. But if you never build the engine, you ain't going nowhere. And here's the truth most people won't say out loud. A lot of folks avoid strategy because planning requires responsibility. It forces you to face the gap between who you are and who you want to be. It exposes your weaknesses, your inconsistencies, your excuses. It demands discipline and accountability. It removes the fog and forces clarity, and clarity makes you act. That's why so many people stay in the dream stage. It feels safe. It feels exciting. But you gotta grow past that if you want something real. You want a big journey, build a big plan. You want a big life, build big discipline. You want a future that makes you proud, create a system that leads you there. Because dreams don't work unless you do, and work don't matter unless it's directed towards something real. When you mix vision with strategy, that's when momentum hits. That's when blessings align. That's when doors open because you positioned yourself, not because you got lucky. The journey is long, the path is wide, but with strategy, every step counts. With strategy, every setback becomes adjustment instead of defeat. With strategy, you stop hoping and start building. You stop wishing and start manifesting. The vision is yours, but the blueprint is what makes it real. The journey will separate you from people who don't want to grow. And that's one of the hardest realities you face when you choose a path bigger than your surroundings. Nobody tells you this part when you announce your dream. People clap, people smile, people say they're proud. But when you really start moving, when you really start elevating, when you really start changing your habits, your standards, your pace, everything shifts. Because big dreams don't just lift you up, they pull you away. Not because you think you better than anybody, but because growth has a speed. And not everybody wants to run at that pace. Not everybody wants to stretch. Not everybody wants to leave their comfort zone just because you did. And that's what hurts the most. You don't lose strangers. You lose people you love, people you laughed with, people you trusted, people who knew your early version and got comfortable with it. When you start transforming, they start feeling exposed. They start feeling insecure. They start feeling like your growth is a mirror to their stagnation. And instead of rising with you, some of them fall back. Some distance themselves. Some talk behind your back. Some act like you changed on them when really you just changed for yourself. When I was building my movement, when I was grinding, when I was locked in on something bigger than the block, I watched people I would have died for slowly drift away. Not because they were bad people, but because we weren't aligned anymore. Some didn't believe in the long-term vision. Some didn't understand the grind. Some didn't want to put in the work required to level up. Some didn't want to see me evolve past the version of me they liked, because that version made them comfortable. And when I started stepping into growth, stepping into purpose, stepping into new rooms, it made them feel like they were losing access to a version of me they felt entitled to. That's part of the journey. That's the cost nobody warns you about. We talk about sacrifice in terms of sleep, money, and time. But one of the biggest sacrifices is people, bonds, friendships, relationships you thought were permanent. And it breaks your heart the first few times. It makes you question if the dream is worth it. It makes you question if you're becoming isolated. It makes you wonder if you're doing something wrong. But the truth is, you're doing something right. Growth demands space. Elevation demands distance. Your destiny ain't meant to be crowded. There's a study out of Duke University showing that 70% of people never change their environment, even when their environment is the reason they keep failing. That means 7 out of 10 people you know will stay in the same routine, same mindset, same habits, same circles, even if it keeps breaking them. That's why your big dream feels lonely, because you're doing what most people refuse to do. You're breaking patterns. You're escaping cycles. You're elevating beyond history. You're stepping outside the familiar. And that's rare. Rare paths don't come with crowds. You gotta understand you can't take everybody with you. Not because you're selfish, but because not everyone can breathe at the altitude you're climbing to. Some people choke on growth. Some people panic when the environment changes. Some people crumble under transformation because they were only built for the comfort zone, and you carrying them, trying to drag them into a future they don't want. That will slow your climb, that will drain your energy, that will steal your momentum, that will suffocate your purpose. Some people want you small, not out of hate, but because your growth highlights their stillness. Some want you predictable so they can stay unchanged. Some want you accessible so they don't have to rise. And some love you, but only at the level where they met you. But hear me, losing people ain't loss. It's alignment, it's clearing room, it's spiritual housekeeping. It's the universe saying your dream needs space, your purpose needs quality, your journey needs voices that lift, not limit. You can't build something big with people who think small. You can't carry a vision with people who only see obstacles. You can't become your higher self with people invested in the old you. The journey will filter your circle. It will remove people who drain you. It will expose those who envy you. It will highlight those who never clap for you. It will reveal who's loyal to the mission and who's only loyal to the moment. And the crazy thing, you don't even have to cut people off. Just start improving your life. The right ones will keep up. The wrong ones will fall off. That's the beauty and the pain of growth. It does the sorting for you. And yeah, it's lonely sometimes. You'll have nights where you miss people you had to walk away from. You'll have moments where you ask why certain people couldn't come with you. You'll have days where old memories feel louder than new ones. But loneliness is temporary. Alignment is forever. You don't lose real ones. Real ones adapt. Real ones grow. Real ones evolve with you because they have their own dreams, their own standards, their own discipline. What you gain on the journey is worth everything you lose. You gain people who understand your hunger. People who don't get intimidated by your ambition. People who push you, challenge you, sharpen you. People who want to see you win without needing you to shrink. People who talk vision, not gossip. People who give energy, not excuses. Your circle becomes tighter, but it becomes stronger. It becomes smaller, but more powerful. It becomes quieter, but more aligned. That's what growth does. It removes noise and leaves only substance. So don't fear the separation. Don't fight the distance. Don't chase people who let go of your hand the moment you started climbing. Let the journey do its job. Let it filter. Let it refine. Let it align, because the people meant to walk with you will match your pace, and the ones who don't, they were holding you back more than you realized. Your dream needs oxygen, and the journey will remove anything that suffocates it. Anybody can dream. Anybody can imagine themselves on stage, holding a trophy, signing the deal, driving the car, living the life. Dreams are free and everybody's got one. But earning it, that's a whole different story. That's where most people quit. That's where most people fold under pressure, give into comfort, get distracted by instant gratification, or try to take shortcuts that look easier but break them in the long run. The journey, that long, messy, painful, beautiful climb, is what separates the dreamers from the ones who actually hold the dream in their hands. The journey is where you earn your right, not because the world owes you anything, but because you put in the work. The time, the sweat, the tears, the growth. That's what makes your victory yours. And that's why when you finally get there, it feels unshakable. You earn it by showing up when life is heavy. Not just when the sun is shining, not just when the applause is loud, not just when everything aligns perfectly. You earn it when your mind says stop, your body says rest, your heart says, maybe I'm not enough, and you keep moving anyway. You earn it by doing the things nobody else wants to do, by grinding when nobody's watching, by putting in the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices that don't make it on Instagram, the steps that nobody can see. That's the cost of greatness. That's the tuition for dreams that matter. You earn it by learning from every failure. Failure ain't the enemy. Failure is the tuition you pay for success. Every mistake, every misstep, every rejection is a teacher if you pay attention. Every no is a lesson in patience, strategy, or character. Every disappointment is a chance to build resilience. Most people see failure and quit, But those who earn the dream, they see failure and adjust. They pivot, they get better. They turn pain into proof. And that's how you create a foundation strong enough to hold something big. You earn it by taking the long way when shortcuts look tempting. People love the idea of fast success. Social media glorifies overnight stories. But the truth, overnight is a myth. What looks like overnight was years of unseen preparation. Every shortcut you think you can take comes with hidden costs, compromised integrity, missed lessons, weak foundation. The long way, the marathon grind, the consistent, patient, strategic path, that's how you build something that lasts. That's how you earn your right. That's how you become unshakable. That's how you make sure the dream doesn't slip through your fingers when it finally shows up. Success feels different when you know you paid full price for it. Nobody can diminish it. Nobody can say you got lucky. Nobody can take it from you. Because you know every single hour, every single sacrifice, every single battle that built the life you're living, every hour you spent studying when the world was asleep, every night you stayed up working while everyone else was scrolling, every rejection that tried to break your spirit, every ounce of self-doubt you had to push through. You paid for it in full. That's your currency. That's your armor. That's your proof. And the proof doesn't just protect you, it transforms you. Every part of your old self you had to bury, every fear you had to conquer, every temptation you resisted, every comfort zone you left behind, it becomes the architecture of your character. The journey molds you, shapes you, hardens you in ways nobody else can. And when you finally step into that dream, you don't just touch it, you embody it, you become it. And that's why the journey matters more than the trophy, more than the accolades, more than the applause. Because the dream is the reward, but the journey is the transformation. The journey is the part that makes you ready, makes you resilient, makes you worthy. When you finally hold that dream in your hands, it feels different than you imagined. It's deeper. It's heavier in the right way. It's sweeter because you earned it. It's unshakable because you know the cost. And that's the real blessing. Not the recognition, not the money, not the status, but the person you became while getting there. The journey makes you unshakable. The journey makes you wise. The journey makes you ready for whatever comes next. And it prepares you to carry even bigger dreams. Because one earned dream is never the end. It's the beginning of understanding how far you can go when you commit, when you believe, and when you refuse to quit. The journey is the proof. The journey is the transformation. The journey is the thing that makes the dream real, solid, and permanent. And that's why when people look at your success, they see the trophy, but you see the miles, you see the nights you cried alone, you see the days you wanted to quit, you see the sacrifices nobody saw, you see the growth, the wisdom, the character. And when you stand there, holding the life you built, you finally understand it wasn't the dream that changed you, it was the journey. The journey earned you the right to that dream, and in the process, it made you unstoppable.